What's up, everybody? We're here at the MrMaple Show. Today, we got Tim here. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Tim, but we're asking his top 5 conifers for this week.
And so I went around and picked out my top 5 conifers for this week here at MrMaple. Right now, we've got a huge conifer selection. You can go to MrMaple.com, click on the conifers, and shop through all the cool conifers we got going on here. I mean, we've got one of the largest conifer lists I've ever seen on MrMaple right now. Huge conifer selection. And we've got an open house coming up. And we typically do one every single Memorial Day. And the one that's coming up next is the Labor Day open house. So you're going to be here September 2nd. Guys, top 5 conifers. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it. My number 5 conifer, I've got Pinus, Parva, Flora, Glauca. This is a Japanese white pine. And what these Japanese white pines do is they add that Japanese aesthetic to the garden. This one's got short blue needles, very dense, and it gets this really contorting-like habit to it that makes these Japanese white pines famous in those Japanese gardens.
Yeah, I mean, you think of Japanese gardening, you're going to think of those white pines, those black pines. Tim picked an awesome blue right here. I mean, the underside of the needle is that almost white color, which you get a lot of the times from these Floras. And I mean, they're some of my favorites. You know, pruning can really take these trees to the next level in those gardenings. You know, we have that floating cloud style. And something where you got a blue floating cloud in the garden, I mean, that's going to be hard to beat.
And Pinus Parva Flora Glauca really gives that blue color, as the name suggests. A lot of conifers sometimes have that name Glauca. That essentially is Latin for blue. And this is such an awesome tree. This adds that unique color in the garden you can't get out of Japanese maples. Adds a unique evergreen interest, so it fits so well in that Japanese garden with your Japanese maples. Dare I say, pair this with a summer gold, and you're going to have some really good color contrast. Guys, number 5 this week on conifers, I've got Pinus Parva Flora Glauca.
Pretty awesome plant. What do we got next, man?
Number 4, Pinus Thunderhead, Thunderhead.
This one is pretty amazing. I mean, we've seen it around the country. I mean, whenever we're traveling out there, there's a pretty good chance we're going to see one of these, whether it be at a KFC or at a, you know, world famous garden, you know.
I love what this tree does. It has long needles. This evergreen just makes this unique presence, this dense, fluffy appearance. Thunderhead is a Pinus Thunbergia. And the reason I love the Pinus Thunbergias are they're extremely heat tolerant. They can actually grow on the coast. They can grow in sand. I mean, it's insane how hardy and how heat tolerant Pinus Thunbergia are. So if you're in a very high heat setting and you want to try a conifer, try a Thunderhead, because these things give a unique evergreen presence. Really long needles, dense bushy habit. For me, this is a rock star all the way around. I know down here in the South, we typically get a 6-footer in 10 years, like a 6x6 with these things. In the Pacific Northeast, they sometimes get a little larger up there. What I love about this tree is just this presence it gives. I mean, it's just so hardy, it's unique. Another thing that's special about this evergreen is it can handle a little more shade than some of your other conifers. While it can handle the sun and the heat, it can also handle more shade. I can actually grow these in our greenhouses rather than them just sit there in our 55% white poly, which is a similar condition to a Japanese maple. So guys, excellent pairing with your Japanese maple garden. Coming in at number 4, Pinus Thunbergia Thunderhead.
Yeah, I love this one.
Coming in at number 3, y'all, I've got Theia pungens Glauca Globusa.
Guys, this one is just one that was calling to me. I love the more ball-shaped dwarfs, and I love the blue color that the Theia pungens Colorado spruce gives. I mean, that powdery blue is just so nice, and it adds such a nice contrast to the garden.
I mean, can you get something in this blue in nature? It's so crazy that you can. And again, playing with that color in the landscape, there's not many plants you can put out there that can give you this powder-like blue color. The thing I like about Glauca Globusa is this is a dense, small, compact Colorado blue spruce. It fits in a lot of people's gardens. It's easy to use because of that. The utility is off the charts because it fits in those smaller spaces, and the color contrast is amazing. But right now too, one of the reasons this is coming in at our number 3 spot is because we've got some killer size 5 gallons right now of these Globosas. I mean, this makes a great container plant out there. Make sure you give it good drainage as always. But this is just going to be dense, compact. You can use this in front of signs, in front of your home. There's so many awesome ways to use Globusa in the landscape. It pairs with everything because of its color, its dense shape, and it fits anywhere because of its small, dense stature.
Yeah, I mean, this one contrasts it with other conifers, contrasts it with maples, anything. Because, yeah, like you said, this is just going to look great next to anything. Be a great piece to put in front of those doors. Outline your sidewalks with it. And that blue is just going to be popping, especially during the wintertime, man.
Coming in at number 2, I've got Pinus Sylvestris Green Penguin.
Guys, this is one of my favorite conifers in general. I mean, it's a super slow growing tree, and this spring I actually moved one of Matt's that was probably about, what would you say, maybe 2.5 feet to 2 feet to 2.5 feet, and it's just this perfect little penguin out there in the landscape. I mean, I love a tree that's just so aptly named, and I mean, this is just an awesome one.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing about this selection is its name tells you its exact shape. It stays fairly narrow and looks like a little penguin out there. It'd be actually pretty cool to go out there and mass plant a couple of these around to sort of create like a little penguin colony. It's an amazing small conifer for the small garden. Matt actually had his in his Makawa garden where, you know, he had all these other dwarf plants and then this little evergreen that just added some unique interest in there. To me, I love this tree because it's slow, it's dense, and once you see a specimen of this, it's something you're going to continue to appreciate more and more. The green color this provides in the spring, the summer, the fall, the winter, it just adds a lot to the garden in that small stature. Makes it a great container plant as well. Dwarf conifers are excellent for containers. You always want to make sure you have good drainage. I know I say that a lot, but that's extremely critical, especially for these dwarf slow-growing conifers.
Yeah, I mean, this is one, you know, I love the idea of a mass planting. You know, you could put them further in the background and make it look like you have some gigantic trees back there or something, kind of play with that depth of field. And this is one, I mean, I definitely need to get a couple whenever I get my house built, you know, make the house look a little bit bigger. But I love this one.
So this is a conifer that could really grow in places all around the United States.
It's definitely one you got to add to your list.
All right, guys, coming in at number 1, we've got some crazy 7 gallons right now of Cohosh Icebreaker.
Man, this is one, you know, to see this in a 1 gallon and then to go to Talon Buckholt's place, you know, for the very first time and see a mass planting of icebreakers that are probably about 2 or 3 times this size is something magical. I mean, this is one that captivated me in a 1 gallon, and to see it on a standard like this in a 10 gallon, 7 gallon size, I mean, that is ridiculous.
So Cohosh Icebreaker was found as a dwarf mutation, a dwarf witch's broom, on the cultivar Hortsman Silberlock. Silberlock has that recurved kind of needle to it where you see that white on the backside of the needles. This one gets extremely dense and compact. It's much slower growing than Hortsman Silberlock. Gives you that same silver color, maybe even more so, with a little more recurved needles. But these being on standards, y'all, that raises it up, gets a little more airflow to some of these conifers, which is really critical in some of these really slow growing dwarf selections.
Yeah, airflow is important, and that's one of my favorite things about the standards. It provides that, but then it also raises that conifer up that would be, you know, maybe a couple inches off the ground, brings it up in height to where you can really play with it in the garden, figure out some great spots, and then as it gets bigger and bigger, it's just going to become more and more of a showpiece in the garden, especially something with as much ornamental interest as Icebreaker.
And that's one of the good things about this is you put this on the ground, it's going to be about a foot shorter because it's in a 7 gallon container, but it sticks up in the air for you to really appreciate it without even getting down low. I mean, you can get a real close up in front of you situation where you can really enjoy these recurved silver color on Cohosh Icebreaker. This is amazing. It's extremely rare conifer. And to me, this comes in at my #1 spot for the top 5 conifers for this week here at Mr. Maple.
Guys, I know we're called Mr. Maple, but we got some awesome conifers to show. These are just going to be amazing in the garden. They're going to have a wide variety of ornamental appeal in there. Get some yellows, get some of those greens, get some of those blues, and get some of the whites. I mean, you're going to kill it with the conifers.
And guys, we add 10 new trees every single Tuesday and every single Thursday. Guys, there's actually 20 trees getting added every Tuesday and every Thursday on MrMaple.com at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And many of those are new and interesting conifers. So if you're into conifers, check that out. There's a lot of Japanese maples on there too. We really appreciate y'all jumping in today. Make sure you're subscribed here on the Mr. Maple Show on YouTube. Check us out on our weekly podcast, Mr. Maple Show on your favorite podcast platform. And guys, we just dropped a brand new Facebook page, MrMaple.com. Go check that out as well. It's Facebook.com/MrMapleFB. Yeah, check out that Facebook page. Y'all, we really appreciate you jumping in today. Take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.